Welcome back to Gameday Tarps podcast, episode 14. How we doing today, gentlemen?
Great.
Awesome. Let's start off right away with Alexander Ovechkin hitting 1,500 points and becoming the 16th player to do so. Honestly, he probably did this a little slower this year than we thought he would, especially because he's only got 5 or 6 goals, whatever he's at now. He's really fallen behind on the goal total for this season. But let's just talk about Ovi for a second, even though he's behind, but still the incredible feat that he's got of being a 1,500 point guy. And before Crosby, I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure just before Crosby.
No, you are right though, Riley.
Definitely a big milestone for a player of his caliber. Considered one of the generational talents, right? Yeah, a little slower, definitely. I think he's missing some of his key players that he's used to playing with, like not playing with Backstrom. He's definitely showing his age, but I mean, he could retire now and he'd still be one of the greatest players to ever grace the ice, right? So,
Yeah, for sure.
honestly, good for him.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, first ballot Hall of Famer and Ovi here, but the guy is aging like fine wine, but he is missing his number two in Nick Backstrom. Like that is definitely the biggest factor in his low production this year, I think. Like, yeah, he still's got Tom Wilson and Kuznetsov there in Washington, but like really, if you think of it, Nick Backstrom was his number two for so many years, and just yeah, he has 5 goals on the season right now, which is very un-Ovi like, but I mean hopefully he can get enough goals that within the next year here he can now finally break Wayne Gretzky's record.
Yeah, and Kuznetsov's not really pulling the socks up, having been a healthy scratch recently. But now I guess the next question is, do you guys think he's going to break Gretzky's record now? He all of a sudden is quite a few games behind the pace of what he needed to be at to get there. What are your thoughts?
Well, I
Um,
honestly think that he's going to do it. I mean, it doesn't matter if he plays another 6 years, he's going to want to break that record. You know, you're so close. Why would you stop now, right?
Yeah,
I
fair enough.
I definitely want to see it in my lifetime, right? Like I never really got to grow up watching Gretzky, so to be able to grow up watching a player break a record, something like that, would be cool to watch. Do I think he does it this year or come close this year? Probably not. I think maybe another 2, 3 years, maybe if he's still feeling it.
He needs 68, I think, is the number.
Oh, so two
So,
years for sure.
yeah, he needs to at least get 30 goals in back to back years, and then his next year after that, he needs like less than 10. But he's gotta get to 30 this year, or close to it at least to pick up the pace because he doesn't want to fall too far behind here.
Yeah, his 50 goal mark gets broken this year.
Like by a rookie?
Like his streak of 50 goal seasons.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's about he has what does he have? 60 games, not even 55 games to score 45 more goals. Like I don't think it's attainable for him this year. I think he'll get to just 28 to 30. Like he'll squeak in there. I think he's going to have the pride to get to 30, but I think it's going to be a struggle to get 35. But definitely not 40 or above.
Can you guys just like reminisce for a second here? Like, you know, these were guys we grew up watching. Like when we were kids, these guys were just breaking into the league, and now they're pushing 40. Sid, Stamkos, the Ovechkins, and it's like, wow, we are getting old, boys. It's scary. It's really weird though.
Well, isn't is it this year that's the '05 draft? Like
What do
the
you
for
mean?
the age group? I mean like so for the kids that were born in 2005, I think that this is their NHL draft year. So
Oh,
that would
coming up, yeah.
yeah, so that would mean that if one of these 2005 born players makes an NHL team out of camp, Crosby and Ovechkin will be playing with a kid that was born the same year they were playing, starting in the
Yeah.
NHL. So that's just crazy to think about for them, like starting to play with guys that are that. Now I know guys like Joe Thornton did it, Marlowe did it because they got up into the 40s and stuff, but it's crazy to think like Crosby and Ovi are already at that point. Like they just don't feel like they're that old.
Well, just remember, right? We were talking about Yager there. Like, I think Voracek was born after he got, or yeah, just after Yager was drafted into the NHL, and now he's his coach on the bench, and he's still playing professional hockey out in Czechia there. So it's like, holy.
I know. It's crazy how he just keeps going. And hopefully these guys keep going too, because Crosby is definitely not slowing down. And Ovi, I just think he's in a bit of a funk to start the year, not having any help. But hopefully he can get it back.
Crosby's still playing like he's 25 years old, man.
Yeah, he is. He's really playing well. Montreal actually assigned Sam Montembeault to a 3-year, $3.15 million extension. What are your guys' thoughts on them? Give him Sam Montembeault the bump in confidence that he's going to be their goalie for the future.
Well deserved. He's showing that he wants the job. I think he's playing phenomenal for him. In Montreal, just seemed like since Carey Price has gone downhill, they haven't been able to find that number one. And I don't think it's really in Jake Allen. I think he's way past his prime. And
He's 34, I think, so
yeah,
he's beyond.
so I think Montembeault, it's definitely it's a good contract for him for sure.
Dylan Larkin, unfortunately for him, posted that him and his wife lost their baby. This is the second time that they have lost a baby before it was born. So I just want to throw our hearts and condolences out to them. You never want to hear anyone going through this, but especially for people, it's almost worse when they're famous. They can't hide. Like you can't hide from it. You were posting on social media about it. There's millions of people looking at these posts, and you have fans who are genuinely excited that this is happening, and then you lose it, and it just becomes something that's almost, this weight is extra. So I definitely don't envy them at all. I feel so bad for them that they're going through this, and I hope that they can find a way to get the family that they're looking for, whatever route that looks for them. So I don't know if you guys have anything to say on that, but just thought we'd throw that in there.
Honestly, yeah, condolences to the Larkin family. I mean, obviously respect their privacy, but I hope for anyone out there, like, don't be a Mike Hoffman's wife, okay? Don't be a troll, okay? Like, this is some serious stuff, and you don't do that kind of stuff. So definitely respect privacy of unfortunate circumstances such as this. But I mean, again, condolences, but don't be rude, don't be trolls, okay? There's no place for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well said. Um, for the Montreal Canadiens, again, Alex Newhook is going to be out for 10 to 12 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So his development was going actually pretty good there. That's a big blow to him and to the team. They're obviously not really contenders at all, but for guys like him to develop, they need them on the ice. So it's unfortunate that he's going to be down for about 3 months essentially, but hopefully he can come back and still contribute to the year right at the end.
Yeah, I think Montreal might be an active team. I mean, I think they're listening to offers from Monahan, I believe. Um, Rumors, I don't know if it's true or not, but Arbor Jackeye potentially requesting a trade. Toronto being a destination, but I mean, that could just be clickbait, so who knows? I personally like the kid. I think he suits Montreal, and he's young enough to, I don't know, be a stud for that team for the future. So I hope he doesn't leave, but rumor he could.
Yeah, and they
Honestly,
drafted
I
his
really don't think
brother.
that Montreal should be giving up on Shawnee Monahan quite yet, man. Like, honestly, this guy's your fourth leading goal or point scorer, and he's having a rejuvenization of his playing career there in Montreal. He loves the city, he loves the fans, he likes playing there. All his teammates seem to enjoy having him in the locker room, so I think that's a guy that you're going to want to have around for the next couple seasons, honestly.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're a team that he fits their goal. Like their goal should be to trade him. That should be what they're looking for because they're looking for picks, they're looking for youth, and he's fantastic in terms of his leadership and what he's done. But that should only go so far. Like they should look to getting something for him. And then if he wants to come back, he's only on a 1-year deal. Like, hey, Bonnie, let's move you to a competitor. Let's see if we can maybe get you a cup. Then if you want to come back next year, come back. We're only talking about a couple months if he leaves, right? Like let's say they wait right to the trade deadline. It's like 2 to 3 months, and then you can move back to Montreal. and he can sign there again, really. So I think that there's no point in not having that. Like, I think he should be moved.
Yeah, I think with a team that needs center depth and they're going in the play like Boston, I think he would look awesome in Boston. They need the centers, and yeah, I think it's just going to come down to a contender, like which contender is going to give the best offer for him.
I read
Yeah,
rumors like that he'd be a fit for the Rangers. Not that any like there was no speculation of anything happening, but the Rangers should consider him for a third line center role.
Yeah. I feel like maybe a second line center. Third line he didn't really do too well in Calgary, but given he had his hip injury that he was dealing with, but I don't know, I feel like Monahan needs to be on that top six to me, I think.
well,
Yeah,
two
to be
things
his
here
most
really. Like,
productive.
does Boston really even need a player like that? Because look how well they're playing right now. If they're going to become conservative buyers or even just go all in at the deadline, then another aspect to it is what do they really have to offer teams? Because they want to try to go on all in last year in their President's Trophy race, and oh boy, did it fail miserably in their face. But again, like what kind of packages could they really offer up teams like for a Monahan or anything, or even make a big splash for a bigger name player? I really don't think, in my opinion, that Boston could really make a big splash this year. But yeah, they could probably go for a depth player like Monahan. But what would Montreal really want for him? You know?
Yeah, I think he
Well,
would be almost perfect. I mean, I would say a second round pick would probably get the trade done. Like just Monahan for second for Boston. I think that they would take that trade because that's fair value for a 1 year deal guy who is doing okay, but he's just off an injury. And is he going to succeed? Is he not? Like that's fair value, I think.
yeah, and I mean he's almost 30. He's still in the prime of his career, and he'd suit a contender.
Absolutely, I agree. Another trade news though is Tyson Barrie has been told by Nashville that he has permission to seek a trade, and it sounds like he'll be a healthy scratch until a deal is done. So I guess barring maybe injury or something, he'll might play. But sounds like the Tyson Barrie experiment in Nashville is already crashing to an end. So what are your guys' thoughts on Tyson Barrie wanting out? Oh, Dally knows.
Come home, Barry. Come home.
Um, I think if you're gonna scratch him until he's traded, then you need to get the deal done faster than later, right? Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know really much else to add to that, but for me, if you're looking for a player like Barry, you're gonna want to get that deal done faster. You're gonna want to keep him, his conditioning wise, keep him up to speed to continue to play or go right into the lineup right away, right? Because I don't know if he's skating or not with the team in practices still
I would
or
assume
whatever.
so. But at the same time, like, what's his value? Would okay? Do you guys think he's better than Zadorov for a third and a fifth? Like, I don't. I don't think
He
he's
used
better
to
than
be.
Zadorov.
He used to be.
Yeah, but now he's just strictly offensive. Like, he's a power play guy, and then he's on your third pair. Like, that's it. Like
Maybe
second line power play.
third or fourth round for sure. I don't know
Just
if you're
I
going
one
can
to get
pick
see it.
two
though.
picks.
Yeah, I can see the Kings going in for him though. They're on a hot run right now. I can see them using a guy like Tyson Barrie on that blue line with Drew Doughty.
I could see like a fourth and a fifth, or like if they get a third, like a third and a seventh. But it shouldn't match the value of Zadorov. I think that Zadorov is far and away the better player today than Barry is, and if he wants out, then they're in the same position as Calgary was, where it's like, well, there's no leverage, so what's he gonna get you?
What's Barry's contract looking like? Because I mean, a
I
team
don't know.
that's completely screwed on defense right now is Toronto, right? And is he right-handed? No.
Yes, I believe he's right-handed.
I mean, you never know. Toronto might be looking to acquire him.
I think he's making like 5 million, 5.5.
That's a
I
stretch.
think. Hold up, I can find out. While I'm looking it up, talk about how potentially Broberg is also given position to speak to other teams to facilitate a trade.
Oh, Barry's making 4.5 mil,
Okay, there we
right-handed.
go. So, yeah. So that's going to be a hot commodity, but it's also not much value because he doesn't add much outside of the power play.
Yeah,
But
and
another defenseman.
does he still have 3 years left, or is he on his last year of that 3-year contract?
I'm not sure. I don't think he's on his last year. I don't think I saw him as a UFA, but either way, yeah, it has to be the right team. Like, and to me, Tyson Barrie's a guy who needs to go to like Arizona or Anaheim or something like that. Like, he shouldn't be going to a contender. He's not a top 6 defenseman on a contender. You know what I mean? So I know you want him to come home. And maybe you guys actually it could work in Colorado depending on how long Sam Girard is gone.
He's in player assistance program, yeah.
Yeah, so that
But I mean,
depends.
they
Like,
got Curtis McDermott up there right now with Jack Johnson, and I mean, it's not bad. Colorado's blue line's pretty solidified right now, but I
yeah,
mean, could have a Tyson Barrie come back, and he could have a rejuvenating season. So who knows?
yeah,
But again, don't know how the cap situation is going to really work out.
yeah. It's gonna be tough for sure for a lot of
hmm
teams to fit him in. They're gonna have to
Well,
retain, I think, but
well, getting Ross Colton and Miles Wood in the offseason, like that really ran them up a good penny and a half.
yeah.
So
Well,
I really don't think.
they did already make one trade with Nashville this year to get Johansson, so
Yeah,
maybe they could do another. Who knows? But let's jump on to Broberg. This is how it went down. So Broberg's agent basically released a statement saying he's been given permission to speak to other teams. Holland then responded by saying he has not given him permission to speak to other teams, and that's also he targeted that to Darren Ferris, his agent, and then Darren Ferris responded by saying this matter reflects why both my and my client's frustration with the Oilers are here. So, so basically saying that Broberg's frustrated, he's done there. He's done being in that organization. So what are your guys' thoughts on this whole situation? Again, once again, Ken Holland saying something that someone else goes against him on, just like when they fired Woodcroft. He said, yeah, we talked to our leadership about it. Right away, Jeff Jackson says, no, we didn't talk to any of the leadership about it. And now here's the agent saying, we have permission to seek a trade. Holland says, nope, you don't have permission to seek a trade. And he says, here we are again, like frustrated with Edmonton, always flip-flopping their decisions. So one thing I will say, though, is Broberg is a guy who has no trade protection. So I feel like Edmonton wouldn't just give him permission. Like, they wouldn't care. They're like, no, we'll just trade you if we want to trade you, or we can hang on to you if not. Like, you're a young kid. Your guys' thoughts, but I think it's just yet another confusing situation out of Edmonton.
well, you want to also talk about trade value too.
Well,
Exactly. What is it?
I don't think the value for him is very high. The kid hasn't really shown too much. But I mean,
Yeah,
is that poor development on Edmonton's part? I mean, look at Dylan Holloway. He hasn't been what he's been, advertised. They got rid of Yamamoto because he was declining. Yeah, Broberg hasn't shown the potential of what he could be in Edmonton, I don't think.
Lavoie. They sent Lavoie back down after they brought him up after he was doing so good in the AHL.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
well, I
So,
mean, yeah,
no, go ahead,
Broberg was
Dallas.
a. I was the same, man. Like, you want to talk about a bust of a top 10 pick? It's in Philip Broberg here, man. Like, holy, 79 NHL games, only 11 points. Like, yeah, maybe it was poor development on Edmonton's part, but like, for a top 10 pick, they really swung and missed on this one. Holy. I really don't think that Edmonton's really going to get a good amount for him.
yeah,
Maybe a
if you
fifth.
want to see an Oilers fan cry, tell them to like go look back to like 2018 or even 2016 with Puljujärvi and look at all the guys that they skipped on that came after their draft picks in the top tens or in the higher picks. And it's the list of players that are in the NHL and extremely good players is incredible. Like they've missed on a lot of talent with their high picks. And really when you think about it, they've had what, two, three good high picks, and then well, maybe Nurse too. Like McDavid was a given. Then Hall, Nugent Hopkins, and Nurse, I guess, is their other one. Oh, and Draisaitl. But again, kind of a gift getting the top three in that draft. And like, what, like, they're not drafting well. They're just getting the proper players. I would say Nurse being their farthest back pick was like their best draft pick of that group because the rest of them were just kind of handed them at number one. Like they had the pick of the whole thing. But then you look at Yakupov, Magnus Payarvi, Puljujärvi, Broberg, Holloway. Like all these guys are not good picks that have turned out for them when they've had all these
and
high
that
picks.
doesn't really it kind of goes from the top down, right? It's management's problem, but then it's like, well, you hire these scouts that scout these players, and they're the ones, swinging and missing here. Like, if it keeps happening, like, why do you guys still have these guys around, right? Like, just swing and misses, and Broberg, and then the later round guys too. Like, I really can't name you a lot of guys in their farm system who's showing a lot of potential because there really is none,
Yeah, exactly. They just, they have one of the weakest prospect pools out there for how many top 10, top 20 picks that they've had. It's pretty ridiculous, honestly, because there are other teams like, I know you talk a lot about Seattle, Dallas, who have just found all these like diamonds in the rough, and they're a new franchise.
I love Ron Francis's scouting team. They really, really did a great job, especially in this last draft. They really hit the head on the nail.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that Edmonton has a lot to fix, and yeah, their scouting department and their management should be at the top of that list because, like, you can't take credit for McDavid. You can't take credit for Draisaitl or Nugent Hopkins. Like, they were gifted to you basically. If you have a top three pick, like 2014, I guess the Oilers got lucky because, it was
Draisaitl fell third, right?
Ekblad, Reinhart, Draisaitl. So it's like now Ekblad and Reinhart are really showing their worth. But like Draisaitl has obviously been the better of the three. But it's just
Draisaitl realistically should be on Florida right now.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just think that they, their fan base almost takes too much credit for the guys that they were gifted, and they're not looking at the deep root of like, we actually suck at drafting. Like, there's no one exciting that we've drafted that is really going to be like a dominant NHL player or even a serviceable NHL player. Their closest one is McLeod, and he's getting better now, but he started the year just on a horrible streak there. But at least he's picking it up now. So let's jump over to Winnipeg, where Nino Niederreiter signed a 3-year, $4 million extension. I was actually surprised by this. Like, I know Nino is actually playing pretty good for them and he fits well, but I thought 3 years was actually a pretty long commitment for them. I thought maybe 2 would be something they would look at, but $4 million, that's a good chunk of money that they're committing to this guy for the next 3 years. So what are you guys' thoughts on Nino Niederreiter?
I think now they're just trying to find a core of guys to keep around. So, like, it looks like Winnipeg's trying to stay relevant with, even re-signing Hellebuck and Scheifele this year too, right? So adding Nino to that, I think, they're just trying to stay relevant in the playoff picture, as where if they lost Hellebuck and Scheifele, I feel like you almost are forced to, I won't say rebuild because, well, whatever, but probably a retool like Calgary's situation. But it's cool that they're trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, I think you're right, because they could have retooled.
Oh yeah, I love Nino too. Hopefully he stays around. He's been through so many teams, I think.
Yeah, he was my favorite pick.
I loved him on the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, I loved him on the Islanders when he was first drafted. I was like, oh, this is awesome. But because I remember that was one of the first World Juniors I was really in depth watching, and then this Swiss kid, Niederreiter, was just dominating versus everyone, and he made the Swiss fun to cheer for when everyone else was obviously cheering for Canada, US, or whatever. The Swiss were like an awesome underdog story because Nino Niederreiter was just killing it, and then he ended up going 5th to the Islanders, so that was an awesome story for him.
Well, and the Swiss always look like they can squeeze out a gem in the rough every now and again, right? You got Timo,
Heischer.
Heischer. Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're coming out more and more with some solid players coming out of the Swiss. So it's definitely cool to see.
Yeah, for the longest time, it was what Mark Streit and Roman Yossi, I think, were like the only two Swiss players who were like good, and now they're actually starting to get a foundation coming out of there, so that's nice.
They got a good developmental program.
Yeah, it seems to be working for them at least. Because realistically, for their population size, like they're pumping out a decent amount of NHL players. They're doing a pretty good job, and a lot of guys in the pro leagues too. Like they're definitely spreading it around. A couple trades though. One with the New York Islanders, actually, as we talk about it today, they acquire Robert Bertuzzo from St. Louis for a 7th-round pick, and Buffalo acquired Eric Robinson from Columbus for a 2025 conditional 7th-round pick. So, what are your guys' thoughts on those trades that have happened? A couple teams like Buffalo needing a little bit of depth, and the Islanders staying old but getting another defensive piece.
Obviously they're not big trades. They haven't had to give up a whole lot, so I don't know. I don't really got a whole lot to say. I'm a big trade kind of guy, so I don't really have a whole lot to say on these trades.
Robert Bortuzzo was only relevant in Pittsburgh. That's my only thought.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that Bertuzzo will be okay in the Islanders, but again, they're old. Like, what are they doing adding another old guy to the team?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. And then for Eric Robinson, I mean, not the trade anyone thought Columbus would be making. Maybe it's a bigger play just to get a roster spot open. Who knows? But they got to figure something out there because at least he's a hardworking big body who hits and fights. Like, he had some heart and soul in that team compared to the rest of those guys. So it's weird to see them ship him out. Maybe he asked. Maybe something happened. Who knows? But it's a weird situation. Hopefully, Buffalo, who now have monster forwards with Thompson, Tuck, Robinson, like they got a big forward group. Even Okposo, he's pretty big. Also in the trades, though, apparently Carolina has placed Tony DeAngelo on the trade block. What are your guys' thoughts about DeAngelo bouncing around yet again after Carolina was apparently the destination for him after he got traded to Philly, and then now he's back?
Yeah,
When is this guy never on the trade block?
Exactly.
well, either on the trade block or in the news for something. I mean, drama follows this guy like a cancer. Yeah, I mean, I thought Carolina was going to be his place. He showed interest in them last year, so it's definitely weird to see. So I don't know, is this maybe like a locker room issue with him? Like, is he just the same toxic player he's been the last couple of years, or is this just Carolina just trying to see what they can get out of him?
Now, I could be wrong, but I think he's like one of the worst plus minuses in the league. He's not impactful. Brindamore can't get him to turn his game around. He's just a liability out there, and they're paying him too much, I think. Like, they overcommitted to him.
Yeah, they're paying him way too much.
It wasn't like his last good season with like the Rangers or something.
Failure of the Rangers, yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah, I remember he had like one good season where he was like almost nominated for a Norris or whatever, and he was killing it. And then the only thing I hear about now is just negativity coming when this
Right,
guy's
yeah,
name gets
he was
spoken.
good, and then the next year he had that fight with Shesterkin or whatever. He yelled at Shesterkin, and then he was gone right away.
Yeah,
Asked to
Honestly,
leave
boys,
the team.
you know who I would love to see on the same team is Tony DeAngelo and JT Miller. Just have those guys bark at each other nonstop. See who comes out on top, honestly. They'll probably knock each other into shape, honestly.
Well, you'd hope so, but JT Miller at least seems to have his head on right this year. Like,
He can
D'Angelo's never
somewhat
been able
control
to
his
play.
temper.
Yeah, D'Angelo hasn't been able to play a whole year without something, anything. Like,
and you know what? JT Miller's having a hell of a year this year.
second in the league in points with 39 behind Kucherov.
Yep.
Like, He's about to crack 40 points, and I think they played 26 games, so like 27, 28 games, whatever it takes him. He's going to get to 40. Like, he's having a
Well, and
heck
his
of a year.
teammates there, Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes, they've kind of started to cool down a little bit. They were going like this to now like this.
Yeah, Hughes is
So
at
maybe JT
36,
Miller
and
can stay with the incline.
yeah, and PD's at 34. So they have dropped off a bit compared to his 39. But I mean, you wouldn't want that trio though. Honestly, like I said last pod, like I chirped the heck out of them before the year, and now if you were saying, hey, what team do you want to start a year with, you probably would have had the Canucks in your top 5 teams to start the year with how they've
Oh
started
yeah,
playing. Like now, this one's I'm gonna pat myself on the back a little bit. I saw this in a trade rumor. This is Edmonton, Boston. So this says the trade suggestion would send a former MVP Leon Draisaitl and Warren Foegele to Boston, while Allmark would head to Alberta with DeBrusk, Poitras, Lysell, and a first round pick. Now I said that they could send Draisaitl to Boston for DeBrusk, Swayman, and I think I said Poitras. I think was my three, with other pieces included, with Campbell as well, going the other direction. But to me, this is too much. Like I give myself a pat on the back that someone else was talking about Draisaitl being traded because everyone thought I was crazy. But at least with this, like, come on, they're giving Allmark their starter, DeBrusk, Poitras, Lysell, and if that's like 5 first round picks in equivalent for Draisaitl. Like I know he's fantastic and he's at least worth 3 first round picks if you're talking value, but we're talking a starting goalie, a good depth forward, a good young forward that's just played the league, a top player in the AHL, and a 1st round pick. Like that's too much in my opinion.
You know what?
Edmonton would be
Personally,
laughing.
personally, I don't think Allmark's lived up to a starter hype. I think it's the players that are keeping him in it. What's even his save percentage at? Like 8 something, 80 something.
I think he's
Uh,
still in the 90s. I think he's still in the 90s. Not as good as Swayman though. Swayman's is still elite right now compared to his.
yeah, so I think Hallmark's kind of having an off year. I don't think he can carry the weight of a full time starter. I mean, I think maybe it's too much with a guy like Warren Foegele added to it, but I don't know. I think it's pretty fair in value. Then you got Edmonton would have a sweet tandem of Allmark and Skinner,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I don't know.
here's his numbers. So Swayman has a 932 save percentage and a 2.08 goals against average, but Allmark still has a very respectable 918 and 2.69. So he's still
Okay,
above the league average
Damn.
by quite a bit. Like he's still
fair
playing, but
enough.
again, you could be right that maybe he's being helped out by how well they're playing defensively, keeping shots to the outside, not allowing high danger chances, stuff like that. So it is potentially involved with the team. Like obviously, you know it is because Swayman is a good goalie, but is he a 932 goalie? Probably not. He's probably got some bloated stats as well, but he is playing better than Allmark. So you are right that it's probably inflated by the team.
Yeah, so who knows? He could get traded to Edmonton, a team that, hasn't had a great start to this season. Hopefully they can turn that around now, which looks like they are, but maybe he starts facing more and more shots with defense that's kind of lackluster on Edmonton, right? So they're going to be facing more shots. So it'd be interesting to see how they do in that kind of situation. Um, yeah, I don't know. I,
I just
I
had to pat myself on the back.
But I mean, I did myself see any trade with Leon in it. You're almost guaranteed giving up a first. To me, anyways, you're
Yeah.
guaranteed
Oh,
to give up a
absolutely.
first round.
Unless you were giving up really, really good roster players, like the best players on your team type talk.
Which I mean, I guess
Like,
Poitras is, one of the best rookies on that team right now. Fabian Lysell hasn't really. Yeah, I don't think he's done too much for them.
he's dominating the AHL, though. He's doing really good in Providence, but he hasn't played up in the bigs yet.
Yeah, and is he a 2020 draft, Fabian?
No, he was
He must be.
Stankoven's draft,
21?
21.
21.
Oh.
You want to
Which I
talk about
mean,
someone killing it in the AHL? Stankoven, man.
Yeah, he's doing well. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just slightly high. I think he's worth a lot, but I think that that's like basically the equivalent of 5 first round picks, and that's a lot.
But I mean, at the same time, Boston is a team that's looking to still be a contender, though. So for them, that might be a good a good pickup. And I mean, depending on if they have more tricks up their sleeve for trades later on. But I think you lose a lot of your leverage giving up the Brusque, Patra, and a first round for just two players.
Yeah, especially when Fogle won't necessarily push the needle on whether you're a good team or a great team.
Yeah.
But Draisaitl with Pasternak would be one of the
Oh, it'd be
sickest
insane,
combos in the
dude.
league.
And then
Like,
if they find another number one center, Boston would be insane, dude.
yeah,
Without
talk,
having
like
to go through a rebuild, dude, they'd be insane.
talk about like Kucherov, Stamkos power play or Backstrom Ovechkin power play, a Draisaitl Pasternak on the flanks. Oh my goodness! Like they would be so hard to beat. It'd be incredible. And I hate Boston. I hate them so much. But
Who
it would
doesn't?
be it would be good to see.
Boston.
True. Anyone in Boston. Uh, let's go to a tarp. New tarp reveal. The Rangers revealed their new third jerseys, and this is one that I like. I like
Oh,
this jersey.
it's
I like the
gorgeous.
dark blue. I like the multi stripe on the arm. I like that. It's cool that it's not just plain stripes. It's got different iterations of stripes and colors. I think it's one of the nicer thirds that we've seen released in a while.
Yeah,
My only thought on it is that if they did their normal color scheme with the light blue with the red, the red stripe and white stripe at the bottom and on the sleeves, it would have been awesome with that logo instead of just the diagonal Rangers. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not horrible. I dig it too, but like I said, the color scheme, I would have loved to have seen it with the lighter blue.
I love the navy blue.
Yeah, I like the navy. I think it's clean, it's crisp. It's like, I think the third jersey is supposed to be a little bit different, right? So if they made like it's a blue jersey, it has their same logo and it just has different stripes, it would almost feel too close. So I think the fact that they've gone just that little bit extra, it really makes it feel like a third jersey.
Well, and they got the light blue on the arm as a stripe too, right? I think if
Mm-hmm.
it was reversed, I don't think it would have looked as clean. If they went with that lighter blue and then the dark blue stripes on the arms, I don't think it would look as clean.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just a tough critic, I guess.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
good.
from a guy that literally has two dark blue jerseys sitting right behind him.
Um, okay, let's get into. We're doing a couple new segments here on Game Day Tarps. We are going to do game day reviews and we are going to do Battle of the Tarps. So let's get right into it. Let's start with game day reviews. If you guys want, I can go first, or you guys, if you guys are ready, one of you guys can take it away with your teams. Dallas is doing the Montreal Canadiens. Dakota is doing Philadelphia Flyers. I'm doing the Colorado Avalanche. We did this via a randomizer so that it was fresh, it was new, it wasn't scripted or anything. We were just able to pick teams right before we got on. We're just going to see where we think they're at the time of this episode in the year. So, anyone want to go first?
I'll send off the Flyers.
All right.
I mean, second in the Metro. They're they're sixth in the Eastern Conference. So I mean, I think they're doing better than what I was expecting them to do. I think with
Oh, for
everything
sure.
go, I think with everything going on with that World Juniors team, I didn't think Carter Hart was gonna have that good of a year. I think last year it was pretty lackluster for him. But Tortorella, I mean, he's doing what Tortorella does best. He's disciplining his team. They're staying relevant. I mean, they're tied with Toronto, who has been the team saying cup or bust for like what the last 3 or 4
Decade, 20
years.
years,
So
67 years.
yeah, and I mean, hell, dude, they're ahead of the Lightning. I mean, they're 1 point ahead of the Lightning,
Oh,
who
but still.
has been a cup favorite for again 3 or 4 years. Maybe not this year, but
Yeah, we
so
were tanked.
So yeah, I think the Flyers are few trades away from being like a serious team. So I don't know. They're sitting good where they're at right now, at the
Here's
quarter
what
mark, I
I
guess.
here's what I'm thinking about Philly, and I heard this on Frank Saravalli's DFO Rundown podcast, and I agree with him wholeheartedly that this is a catastrophe for Philadelphia because they announced to their fan base, we're rebuilding, right? They look like they were going nowhere. They've taken on bad contracts. They've shipped out bad contracts. They've done what they can. They were thinking about shipping out Sanheim. They chose not to. Maybe Carter Hart. They're still saying everything is on the table if someone comes calling. There's no player that's safe from a trade. Yet here they are, second in the Metro, sixth in the East,
Well,
and they're not.
they also got rid of one of their best defensemen in Provorov. They sent him
Yeah,
to Columbus.
Provorov's gone. DeAngelo's gone. Hayes is gone. Like,
Giroux's gone.
yeah, Giroux they got
Travis
rid of a couple
Konechny
years
is in
ago.
trade talks. Like,
Yeah, and if their goal is to rebuild and build draft capital so that they're ready when Mishkov comes over in 3 years, they're not exactly doing a good job of it. Like they need to trade off guys that are not in their window. Which now I think that Sean Couturier is a hard one, but I think it should be Sean Couturier. Like as soon as he's basically proven that he can play for a couple months, I think he needs to be a guy that they seriously consider trading. Could you imagine a top two-way forward like that on the market? Talk about Boston wanting someone to get a little bit of a
oh, Sean Couturier would
knockoff.
be perfect.
Yeah, knockoff Draisaitl, knockoff Bergeron, right? Selke candidate in Couturier. Like, I think he'd be a great ad for a team
But
like
but
Boston.
but think of it this way though. There's a lot of bashing of Philly, but you know what? They do have a winning record right now. Like this whole
Mm-hmm.
rebuild, it's not really looking like one if you think of it. Like they're almost top of the Metro. Someone who went all out this offseason, the Pittsburgh Penguins. When they're fighting for last place in the Metro with a losing record, like, and Philly doesn't even have any superstars other than what Sean Couturier and maybe in Travis Konechny, and they're killing it apparently. So I don't buy this whole rebuild thing. I gotta give them props. It's working for whatever they're doing there.
And the president did go on. I think it was Spittin' Chicklets or it was Mr. Curfew. I don't remember. I listened to it, but he said like, obviously we've announced we're in a rebuild, but the players decide the rebuild. So that's really bad to hear. That he's almost saying like, if they keep doing well, we kind of have to abandon our thing. But at the same time, it's like they're not a team that's going to win the cup, so they shouldn't be in this position where they're winning. Like they need to get to the point where they're losing again because a quarter into the season, they're going to have a really hard time trying to fight for first overall right now, no matter how hard they try to lose. Like they're in a playoff spot now. It's going to take quite a bit of points to fall out, and then it's going to take even more to fall down to the bottom 10 to hopefully be in a lottery spot to really jump to first. But it's going to be like, I just think that it's a mess for them. They have guys that they don't want, that they need to move on, and they're too good.
They're honestly taking a page out of last year's Vancouver Canucks team. You guys were so bad last year. You were almost guaranteed to get a top five pick, and then you just started winning game after game after game towards the end of the season. Where'd that get you? 10th in the NHL draft lottery. So your Connor Bedard chances last year were out the window there, buddy. And then for this year's draft, Philly's top first round there might really just be, a really bad spot for them if they continue to win these games.
I think it also comes down to the coaching, though. Like I was saying, like Tortorella, he's so hard on these guys. Like he's almost conditioning them to outlast some of these fast teams, right? Like if you have a bad game, he has no problem bag skating the team. He has no problem sitting a player out. Like so, it's almost like you almost have to fight for this coach to get ice time. So you mean all these players might be showing up this year just to be like, if we make playoffs, we make playoffs, but we kept coach happy.
Yeah, he's almost the worst coach to have if you say you're rebuilding.
Oh, for sure,
Because
he's one of the worst coaches I have.
like they've even said like, oh, he's a great coach. He's in with the vision, but is he really?
No,
Like
I
he
think
is demanding the most out of those guys.
I don't think Tortorella's a rebuild coach. He's like no, we're a playoff team. we could have full of like rookies on our team, and you'd be like, no, we're probably making playoffs this year.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
he's a
so
great coach for it. He's a great coach for getting top performances out of players, like no doubt about it. But it's not what they need.
yeah, no, not if they're going rebuild. So if they're at the Boston situation where Boston almost considered a rebuild, and now they kind of have to look at it like we're not a rebuild team right now. Does Philly consider trading some older big name guys to make that team deeper and stay
Yeah.
relevant for a few more years? Like if you want Torts around, I feel like you're gonna have to consider screw the rebuild. We need to continue this now.
Yeah. He's in year 2 out of 4. Like 2 more years on his contract.
And
So
who knows if they re-sign him before Matvey Mishkov comes in, right? Because that's a year
exactly.
before he's eligible to come in, right? You said three
So this
years.
this was year 1, year 2. Yeah, his contract will end the year that Matvey's contract ends in Russia. So it would be the next year where he can come over to North America.
But you know what? I think if they're still in a winning state, I think you re-sign him with Matvey. If
Yeah.
Mishkov wants to, actually play for Philly, I think he'd be perfect for him. Then he would know how hard it is to be in the NHL. And if he
Yeah.
wants to prove himself, then hell yeah.
All right. You or me, Dally, on Montreal or Colorado. What do you want to do?
I'll take the helm.
Okay,
Um,
go for it.
so with the Montreal Canadiens, they're sitting just behind Tampa right now in sixth. Tampa being in fifth, and Montreal is only 3 points behind them right now. So, I mean, obviously everyone knows tough division in the Atlantic. We weren't really expecting too much of the Montreal Canadiens this year. I really like Martin St. Louis. Hell of a player, and he's a hell of a coach. He definitely has a challenge with steering the Canadiens. Well, it's been a challenge, getting them on the right track and into greener pastures. But I mean, we've all seen that in Slavkovsky there, he has become a first overall bust, honestly, and he just hasn't really been the guy. You know what? You can't really roast him because we thought the same with Alexis Lafreniere, and it's now taken him what 3 years to finally find his groove in the NHL. So I'll cut him a little bit of slack here. Slavkovsky has some time to grow and adapt to the NHL culture, and Montreal's leading goal scorer right now is Nick Suzuki, everybody's favorite. Excuse me, Cole Caulfield is just behind him, and then Mike Matheson even is in third place right now with the most amount of points. And then we've already discussed with Shane Monahan there that he could potentially be a trade target for teams come the NHL trade deadline in February. But like I said, I honestly feel that Sean Monahan might be on another deal or even a bridge deal next year with Montreal if he likes it or if they like him too. But for me personally, I really don't see Montreal making the playoffs again this year. They just locked down Montembeault, well deserved, but I really don't think that him and Jake Allen could really carry the Montreal Canadiens with their offense into a playoff spot. I mean, they're still definitely a rebuilder, but they could potentially be a second place wildcard contender at best, in my opinion.
Talk about Philadelphia having like a catastrophic season. Let's talk about Montreal not really being at fault for their own. Let's just talk about how like Ottawa and Buffalo have basically gifted them to not be at the bottom of the division, which is not what Montreal wants. I can tell you that. The management, they're like, pick it up, Ottawa. Come on, Buffalo. Like, we want to
Ottawa's been
be
the
at the bottom
biggest
of the division.
disappointment in the East.
Like Montreal, it's a disappointment for them because they're doing still not very good. Because Tampa's really not doing that good this year either. So like Tampa's just over, whatever 500. So they're like just below 500, right below them, and it's like they thought that they'd be at the bottom of the league at below 500. I think, or at the bottom of their division at least, and Ottawa and Buffalo obviously have come out so slow that Montreal, I bet, is like I think that we will see them trade guys off like Monahan and other players because they're going to be like, no, like our goal is to be at the bottom. We want that first overall pick. We want top 5 pick. We don't want a 7 to 10 pick. So I think that, again, it's just like Philadelphia, the same situation where they're overperforming, but in this case, it's the underperformance of other teams that is not helping Montreal stay at the bottom of their own division, where they should be, and I think where they want to be come draft night.
Yeah, it's been so weird though. Like every team that you suspected would be doing great this year is having a really terrible start, and then teams you weren't expecting to be great are now doing the unimaginable, the impossible right now. You know, being in a playoff spot, a winning record over 500. Like it's just, in my opinion, I think it's a really weird year in the NHL. But I mean, I guess it makes things interesting come later in the year for the the last leg of the race for playoff spots.
It does for sure.
Especially Philly. Like who would have thought Philly would be fighting for top of the Metro right now? I don't think anybody and their dog would have thought, oh hey, by the way, Philly's got a winning record going into almost the holiday break here in December.
Anything else?
I mean, I'll just add to the point you saying Slavkovsky's a bust. I was thinking the same about Cole Caulfield once upon a time. Now look at him. So I think, is this his rookie year? Is this Slavkovsky's rookie year?
Second year.
Oh.
Technically, I think he's still a rookie because he got injured before his 25 games, I think. I could be wrong, but it's technically his second year.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it could be the team, it could be the development he took to get there. I think Slavkovsky still has time to. I mean, yeah, he might not have been the best first overall pick there was, but I think he still has time to become an absolute stud for these guys. But yeah, I thought Caulfield was going to be trash once upon a time, and now he's one of their best scorers.
No way he's scoring 50 this year, though, like everyone was saying.
No. I don't think he'll score 50, but, he probably will once or twice in his career for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I never believed that hype this offseason where people were saying Caulfield's getting 50. This is his year. He's getting 50 out. No way. No way this guy comes and gets 50 this year.
Those are just Montreal fans overhyping their players like usual. They're God's gift, apparently.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess I'll jump into Colorado now. Obviously, they're pretty much right where we thought they would be. I mean, first in the Central, they're playing good hockey. Their additions have really helped. They got Ross Colton playing pretty well. They got Johansson playing pretty well. Makar is obviously, he started really slow, but man, probably the best defender in the last month, right? Quinn Hughes has been the best defender of the year, but Makar is only 2 points back now, and he's flying his way up, and McKinnon is doing his thing, just dominating as usual, and Rantanen's right there as that trio, just right there with him. If that was,
I gotta jump in there points. Right there. Mikko Rantanen's actually been freaking quiet lately.
I think so.
Oh yeah, he's been goalless like for over a handful of games. Like he's been kind of quiet. But continue. That's all I gotta say. Is Mikko Rantanen's been quiet.
I was just saying he's only 3 points behind Makar, so I thought, well, that's not. I mean, he usually is actually ahead of Makar, so I guess it makes sense. He has technically.
He had a 50-goal year. Last year.
Mm-hmm.
He set a Colorado franchise record in most goals scored in the season.
Yeah, so I mean, for a guy like him, I guess he should be higher, but at least he's still over 30. Not a lot of players are. Right now, there's less than 20, I think, that are over the 30-point mark. So the fact that they also, just like Vancouver, have 3 guys and a defenseman over 30, that's pretty impressive for the team. I think Georgiev is playing pretty well for them. He's doing his job. He's doing what they need from a goalie. Obviously, I don't think he had that last year the way that he has it this year. He seems to be a little more comfortable. He seems to be sorted out. And I think that he's in a happy place in his game. I mean, the signing of Jonathan Duran still yet to be seen. I don't think it's really paying off. He seems to have 8 points, right? Like he's a point every 3 game type pace, but I think they were looking for more from him when they did sign him, hoping to rejuvenate him. But I think that, yeah, they're basically right where we thought they would be, and they're solid. Again, it sucks to hear about Sam Girard. with the player assistance program, but they seem to just be humming along even without him. So, anything else you guys have on the Colorado Avalanche?
I mean, I've loved the addition of Ross Colton coming from Tampa Bay. He every time you see him score, this guy loves to play the game of hockey. He's got a big old smile on his face. You know, he's speedy. He's got skill. He's been quite producing quite well. And
He
also,
hits
I've noticed with
everything.
oh yeah, and
I
with
love it.
Drouin there, like he's on the first power play unit with Mac and Mikko Rantanen and Kale McCarr, and like I got nothing bad to say about Drouin. You know, like he's definitely still trying to find his game. You know, but
How long can you keep
you know,
saying that though?
I got everything bad to say about Durant.
guy. Well, you know what? You should be happy though, because well, yeah, you guys won that trade. You gotta
Yeah,
admit
Oh,
dude,
we
that.
did.
So
We did.
Sergachev's still on the
just be
Lightning, bro.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, still be happy though. You guys won the biggest lopsided trade in almost NHL history, if not one of the biggest lopsided trades in NHL history.
It could be.
Montreal,
If you say prospect for prospect
Florida,
trade,
Calgary, buddy. Pretty lopsided.
buddy,
Wayne Gretzky to the Kings, buddy.
buddy,
Yeah, there's a lot.
just be
But
happy.
if you're
Mikhail
talking prospect
Sergachev
for
is on the
prospect,
Tampa Bay Lightning.
yeah. But if you're talking prospect for prospect, I agree with you. Like
Oh
in a
yeah,
straight 1-for-1 prospect trade, it's probably the biggest one that's ever happened with like 2 top 10 picks. And well, there's Line and Dubois, but they were a little bit older. But the way that you're right, it has swung 2 different directions where Tampa has Sergachev, who's a bona fide significant player for their team, and Durant has basically bounced around, been struggling with his mental ability and everything the whole time.
Did you just say Dubois and Line
Did I say
are
Dubois?
older?
They are older, aren't they? Or are they younger?
I don't think so.
Okay, sorry, they're older than Sergachev, younger than Durant. Sorry, I guess they're right in the middle, aren't they? What year were they drafted?
Line was
2016. Oh, they're the
16.
same draft
Yeah,
as Sergachev.
so is Dubois.
Okay, so they're Sergachev's draft, so they're all the same age, except for Durant's older. So, yeah, but that's arguably a bona fide star trade where it's basically kind of still even. Not this year, but for their careers, it's been pretty even. We ready to get on to Battle of the Tarps?
yeah.
Where this segment, we're going to be doing some Twitter polls, and wherever we can do a poll, we're going to set one up. Where every episode we're going to be doing 2 jerseys. We're putting them in a randomizer from home, away, alternate to pro or amateur team. Then we've got all the pro leagues that we wanted to cover and all the main ones, and then all the main amateur leagues that we wanted to cover. And we're just going to be going off whatever the randomizer says. So today we have from Liga in Finland, KooKoo versus the QMJHL in Quebec, Canada, the Acadia, Bathurst, Teton, and both ended up randomizing away jerseys. So let's get into KooKoo and what we think about their jerseys. I say for the fairness of it, because I think everybody hates the logos, the advertisements all over the jerseys, let's try and ignore them and let's try and just base it on the color and the scheme of the jerseys, because I think that we agree that we all hate that they're just covered with advertisement. So, who wants to go first on KooKoo?
I mean, advertisement aside, it's a plain jersey, right? I think like there's not much to it. It black and orange and white. I don't know. I feel like they could have done a little bit more. Like if they didn't have advertisements, I think they could have done a little bit more with the orange. Maybe add a little bit more black to it. But yeah, I mean, I hate advertisement on jerseys, man. It grinds my
It
gears.
ruins it.
Helmet,
I mean-
pants. I mean, the socks is kind of cool. I'll give it on the socks. I don't mind it, but the jersey,
As if we didn't see one advertisement, they'll just keep trying to shove it down your throat. Sponsored by, sponsored by. This is sponsored by. Like, you know what? Who cares?
Well,
You know?
I get that they need it, like, for literal, to keep the team alive. Like, this funding is needed for these teams, and whoever decided that we should put them on jerseys, I don't know what they charge for these. Obviously, it's probably a big ticket to have them on the actual players, but I mean, yeah, it then doesn't become a jersey to me, right? It's basically a sponsorship jersey with a logo on the middle and then a name on the back and a number. Like, but I'll go in. I mean, I like the orange. The color of the orange is nice. I like that. It's not light. It's not too dark. It's just a nice orange. Um, it meshes with their logo nice. The fact that it swoops through the middle of the logo and it also like goes on the middle of the arm. So if they line up, they're gonna be kind of in sync. Other than that, though, yeah, it's basically just white. And I think that they could have done a lot more. They have the neck line that's orange and the bottom stripe that's orange. But I think that there was so much more they could have done, even with the advertisements. They could have done a lot more.
I mean, do you think they made it as plain as possible so that they could make the advertisements pop?
It does depend what say the advertisements have too. Like maybe they have a say on like where they want their logo and their like a lot of these are colored logos. So like they might have a say like no, we want our logos on a white canvas, right? If it's the away jersey, we don't want it. Your home jersey is all colored, right? Like it's obviously theirs is probably orange and black. So it's like if that's orange and black, the logo might not show as well. So they're like, no, on the white jersey, like we want our colors. We want it on the white. We don't want it, bled out or anything. So I think that they're probably in a tough spot because of the financial side.
I mean, it's not every day you see a lot of jerseys with orange and black complementing each other, so I think it looks good. I mean, looking at the logo though, boys, holy man, it kind of reminds me of a knockoff old NHL. Remember the old NHL where
Mm-hmm.
it's like black and orange, the shield? That's
Yeah, it
exactly what it
is.
looks like to me. It looks like a knockoff version of that, but with QooKoo in the middle of it. Like how original. And it's just, yeah, it's kind of nice. It's simple how it just kind of complements going through the middle, swooshing in the middle of it, but still, still plain. Like what's cuckoo even represent? Like, is it the city? Is it supposed to be like an animate object? Like, it's supposed to represent something. I'm not too sure, but it would have been cool if they came up like I don't know, like a dragon or something, or something sick, boys. But I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if they
mean
have a logo
that's another
like a.
thing. Like the logo alone, like a lot of these logos on teams, like show what the team's about. That doesn't show what that Finland team's about.
There was
That's
only one team that had like a. Well, I guess it was a couple, but one that actually had the name in their team name, which was the Pelicans. That was the only one out of all the Finnish teams as I was going through it
well, they have a
that had
pelican
their
on
name.
their logo,
Yeah,
don't they? Yeah,
exactly.
so
And I know
that makes
Ilves has like a lynx, and I forget the other ones. There was one more animal, but again, most of them are just their name. And a lot of them are the crest. A lot of them have shields. A lot of them have crests. They're not like that. So that seems to be the trend in Finland is more to that side. Uh, but let's jump over to Acadia Bathurst Teton. I know for us, um, this probably wasn't a fair matchup because not only is this just the better jersey tonight, this is one of the better jerseys in all of hockey. Just for how simple it is, but how nice it is. It's got that like dark red, almost like a wine red. And then it's got the gold and the white. It just complements extremely well.
just some of the most beautiful color combination there is, honestly. And I love that they have the gold around the neck, the red shoulders, the red pants. Oh, the gold gold stripe on the bottom of the jersey. The logo, you can tell what they are. The Titans, and they got the Spartan Titan logo. It's just clean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean it's pretty. I love everything about it. I love that shoulder. Like you said, the shoulders I think is the biggest thing. When you have a white jersey and then you cement it with that color on the arms that goes all the way down, to me that's one of the best accentuations you can do on a white jersey.
yeah, there's no denying. I mean, yeah, if not, if not one of the best jerseys in the queue, if not one of the best jerseys or even kits, like we were saying, the away and the homes just complement each other so well. Like, how many teams do you see with like a gold chrome, kind of accent color with like that fine red wine look? It's
Golden
so
Gophers.
so nice. Minnesota Golden Gophers. Okay, there's another good example, but I'm saying like
There's
It's
not many
just
though
those.
outside of these
There's not.
couple.
Yeah, there's not very many teams that use those color combinations, but it's just when they do, they just really do a really good job.
You know what teams use too many of the same color combinations? Blue and orange. I mean, you got the two jerseys behind you. You got the Islanders. You got the
Oilers.
Oilers. There's too much blue and orange.
Flint,
Yeah,
Firebirds.
Flint.
Flint
Uh,
Firebirds. Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many. There's just that is like even in Finland, there's Tapara. Tapara's orange and blue. Like there's at least 1 to 2 orange and blue teams in almost every league. It just seems like that is such a common call. Now for our Blazers, obviously we love it because that's what we grew up watching. But like it is definitely something that's drowned out. Blue in general, I think, is really drowned out in hockey. It's like probably the most used color for jerseys.
Or even black.
Yeah.
Like, when you stop bringing these black jerseys in here, man, like, I think the Kings would be a lot cooler if they kept their old color scheme, purple and yellow.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
To
Love
be the
it.
only team to have purple in the league again, like, why not?
They should
But
just do like the reverse retro style. You know, I like the crown, but ditch the crown. Keep their logo, but just do it purple and gold. Exact same jerseys, purple and gold. Modernize it. Don't do the reverse, just modernize it with purple and gold. I think that would be awesome.
yeah, blue and black and orange. I think those colors get used way too often in leagues.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though, Riley, is that you say that is because we were doing the white Acadia Bathurst Titan jersey. But if you think about
Mm-hmm.
it, the CHL is one of the only leagues that uses their darker color scheme for their away kits. So technically, if you think of it,
You're right.
the away one would have been the fine red, sorry, the fine red wine looking jersey. But I mean,
You're right. We
still,
did it. We actually did it
yeah,
backwards.
it's all right though. I mean,
Yeah.
but you would think, right, that the whites would be the aways, but it's something that like, why does the CHL's league as a whole do it that way? I
Well,
just
they've swapped because I do remember vividly, like the Blazers growing up wearing blue at home. Like
oh yeah, and like
I remember when they did, and then when actually the Blazers even had a black jersey, very similar to the Blasty jersey, and then they were white before that, and then they were the dark blue for the majority of the 2000s into the
mhm.
2010s even, and then that switch happened in like 2018, 2019. Like it's not that old to switch to the whites. It's fairly new. So for
Well,
me,
yeah.
the whites are always still the away for me. I don't know
Oh
why.
God,
I,
yeah.
I
It's
totally
just
forgot, but
it's common, right? It's common sense. But like, and I remember a lot of times like they'll flip flop it back and forth a lot. Some home games, then they will be wearing their their darker color kit, but
mhm.
it's very rare.
Well, it also depends too, because I mean, look at the NFL. I'm pretty sure Dallas Cowboys, they always wore white at home. And I just seen the other day that Miami, when they're at home, they choose to wear their white jerseys because in their arena, strategically, they have it so that their home side is in the shade, and when the sun comes down, it's beating on the away team who's wearing darker jerseys. So it's like 79 degrees Fahrenheit on their side of the field, or 100 and whatever degrees Fahrenheit on their side of the field at all times. When Miami's cooled down all game long, and they choose to wear their white jerseys. Now,
Damn,
obviously,
that's
it's
Sneaky.
not the
smart.
same in the NHL, but yeah.
Yeah, sneaky. I guess that's why most leagues have rules around
Yeah.
who wears what where because yeah, like that really is just taking advantage of the situation that another team could like have Minnesota try and take advantage of wearing lighter jerseys. Like what when it's snowing they'll wear white maybe, like that's really it. But
Yeah.
other than that, it's like what is September in Minnesota provide for them wearing purple or white? It doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, fuck. It would suck for New Orleans going to Miami, right? They're all black uniforms. Oh, that would blow.
Them and the
Just sun's
Raiders,
beating
yeah.
down on you,
Oh,
sweating
yeah.
absolute bullets.
All right. Well, I think that's a great place to end episode 14 of Game Day Tarps podcast, gentlemen. As always, great job. Thanks to everyone for listening. Follow us on everywhere that you get your podcasts, on YouTube, and on all social media platforms. Find this poll up on Twitter for the TARP or the Battle of the Tarps poll and our new segment that we are starting here. So thanks again for listening, and have a great night, everyone.